In this video, we're going to show you how to successfully e-file a return. So what you're going to do is when you have a return that is done with all the data entry part, go ahead and select return. Let's pull that return up. And we'll go back to the return that I set up in our other video. All right, so let's go through this return because I'm done with the data entry. I have nothing else left to import. I've already informed the client that the return is going to add up to a $4,991 return, and that's before fees or any deductions from like an invoice or anything like that. So what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to need to be able to accomplish is we have to make sure that this return has no fatal errors or any other errors that would prevent us from successfully transmitting this to the return. Or if we transmit them to the IRS, they're going to just come back as a reject. So let's go through the first one. To verify a return, let me back up a little bit. To verify a return, we're going to click this button right here called verify. And what this does is it checks the entire return for errors, and then it lists them for you in an itemized fashion so that you can kind of go through each error or warning one by one and determine if something needs to be changed in order to allow this return to be processed. So once you click verify, you're going to get that list of errors or warnings, and let's just go through each one individually. 8879. What this means is, and I haven't defined which bank product I want to enroll this client for because we're just going to keep it short and simple. I'm not going to be able to process this return because I don't need a bank product for this particular client in this particular example. So for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to say that this client wants a check from the IRS. If you click 1 on the 8879, please understand that you're going to have this client pay you in person because all of their refund is going to be put into a check and mailed directly to their address that you list on the client data sheet. So if you select 1 or 2 on the 8879, what that means is this client is going to get $4,991 barring any offsets as in a check or a direct deposit from the IRS. It's not going to deduct any fees. They're going to get the full bounty. So be mindful of what refund type you have selected. In this case, we're just going to, say I want to check from the IRS for simplicity's sake, just to remove the error. So once I have that, I can make that change and hit enter, and it will take me to the next error on the list. So what you can kind of do is hit enter, correct the error, and then hit enter again, and it'll take you back to the verify list and then move down to the next error. In this case, I have an error because I have not input an EFIN into this return. So what I can do is I can click choices down here and select the EFIN that I have registered under the electronic return originator menu. Let's go to the next error. It says that I do not have a date of birth. Interesting. Let's fix that. Now that that's fixed, we have an audit flag. Let's see what's going on here. I did not list the document the name, relationship, income amount of source. Well, let me. You guys can just kind of watch me as I clear these errors. And if you ever have to like mark a box, that's where you're going to just type X into that box, and that qualifies as marking that box. All right, let's go to the next one. And here it's just verifying that there is some type of payment method. Since I entered in bank account information, it's just verifying that, hey, which method would you like us to disperse this? I'll just put in an X for brevity, but I also have to just put in a random account number there too to satisfy that entry. Ooh. We'll put 1 2 3 4 1 3 4 1 3 4. We'll move on. That's just a warning. It's not a fatal error. pay preparer. I think the error from this was when I did the example, I input a state for the example, but I didn't like follow through on that. So the software is like, hey, what's up with that state you entered here? Is there anything here that we need to know about? But there isn't. All right, and we're almost done here. So let's go through this. And we can select the preparer list and it'll auto-populate all that information. We'll just use practice for instance for this case. I'm gonna save. Anytime you see an asterisk, once you click save and there's no asterisk, that means all the changes to the return have been saved. If you see an asterisk, don't forget to save. All right. I have to indicate who the preparer is on the 8879. Save that. And what I'm doing, why I'm saving is because I just want to shorten that list for my own personal sake. It makes it easier for me. PIN, taxpayer PIN. This can be any 5-digit number. It doesn't have to. It's not like very specific or anything. This number is going to be relevant in case you have to speak with the IRS for any reason. They're going to ask for the taxpayer PIN and the preparer PIN, and that's just how they verify that they're talking with the correct persons. I have just warnings left, so we're getting really close. ERO PIN. Let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as well. ERO checklist. Perfect. All right. So there are a couple other warnings, but if you go through them individually, you can kind of hit details if they need to be elaborated. Once again, that W-2 is asking me for the state tax return because I entered in a state to show an example of how you add the state, but because I removed it, the software is like, wait, what's going on with that that state W-2 you had in here? But because I removed it, it's still asking what's going on with that. Cool. So that's pretty much it. So now that the return is verified, what I can do is I can print this return. You're going to go to print final tax return. That's what's going to allow you to finalize the return. And if you had any fatal errors, this button wouldn't be right here. If you had any fatal errors that needed to be addressed, changed, or looked into, this button wouldn't be in here. I wouldn't be allowed to hit next. And you're only allowed to hit next if the errors that they come up with are just warnings instead of fatal errors that would prevent the return from being accepted by the IRS. So from here, hopefully you have already set up your printer. I'll go on that into another video. But select the printer. If they need if you need to have them sign this remotely, this is where you're going to kind of set that up as far as like you'll have to enter their email address, click this button, and they'll get that, and they'll have to sign it on their end. Or if they're signing in person, you can just have them sign the doc. If you have like if you want to hand them the mouse, if you have a signing pad, like a Topaz signing pad that's compatible with the desktop software, you can have them sign that. Or if they're signing remotely, that was also where you would go to have them sign that remotely right here, remote sign. Let me just select a printer for the sake of it, and I'm gonna click print, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna create a file in this document archive. Once you have the full tax return already printed, then the software is like, okay, everything's finalized. What you are now able to do is queue this return up for submission and transmission to the IRS. So once you have successfully verified a return, have successfully printed that return, and had the customer sign, the next thing you're going to have to do in order to e-file is you're going to have to queue this return up, and you're going to be met with this menu right here. Pay very close attention here because you can possibly accidentally queue a return that you don't want queued up here. So just be very mindful of what you're doing here. The method of payout is going to be listed here. remember I said that I wanted that in the check, so it's saying, hey, this client's going to get a check. The amount of refund, the AGI, and it's asking me to, do you want to queue this return for a federal submission? If I had a state return, I would have to click another box to queue up for a state submission as well. But because we have removed the state, we only have a federal return to submit. So in this case, everything's already good to go. I've selected this box and I hit queue. Now nothing still has happened, but when you queue the return, it's gonna bring you back to this return list, and you're gonna have the status change from EF return to return queued. You're still not done. The return has not been sent to the IRS yet. What you're gonna have to do, the last thing, is you're gonna have to go back to work in progress. How I got there was selecting this button right here, WIP, stands for work in progress. From here, you're going to select transmit to central site from the transmit queue menu. Click transmit to central site. Every single time you do this, be very mindful of what you see right here. If you're only wanting to submit one return, make sure there's only one return there selected. Sometimes we'll queue returns, and for whatever reason, if they, if you forget about it, they're still going to be in this queue menu. Just make sure that you have every return that you want queued and sent checked here. If you don't, uncheck the box and it will not be sent. In this case, I have everything ready and good to go. This is an e-file for the U.S. federal tax return. The refund type is going to be a check directly to the taxpayer. The refund is what it is. That is my name or the name of the fake client here. And in that case, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click OK, and that will begin the transmission. I'm not going to transmit because I don't want to transmit a fake return to the IRS here. But when you click OK, that's what's going to submit the return to the IRS. And after that, you're going to just wait on a response from the IRS. Most of the time, it'll be accepted, listed as rejected. One of those two statuses you'll get as a response after you have submitted a tax return to the IRS. So once again, when you get to the screen and everything looks okay, make sure the box is selected and press OK. And that is how you transmit and return to the IRS.